Hey everyone, welcome back to Dem DMs. My name is Fox Ghost,
Panda Ghost.
And I'm Matt.
and today we are discussing tips on how to homebrew monsters for your games and give some examples of monsters that we've created for our games. So if everyone's ready, let's slide on in. Now, the first question you gotta ask is, where do you start, and why would you choose to make a homebrew monster in the first place? One thing that I've noticed is that sometimes you have a monster you really like, and it just doesn't quite fit your setting, or maybe you're just kind of tired of the same old monster over and over again. This is a really good place to start, in my opinion. And some things you should consider is when making that monster is this supposed to be a solo monster, or maybe it's supposed to act in a group? I think maybe if you had like a monster that was similar, but normally it works as an individual, you could then make it work in a group and vice versa. Maybe it's a group monster that you want like a big tough version of. But again, a really good starting place is finding a monster that in the monster manual that you already like and then adapting it to your campaign.
Yeah, and it's also kind of why, like, when you look at homebrewing like tools and things like that online, it usually says, is there a monster that you kind of want to base this off of? Because that's really the easiest way to start. Because a lot of the, build of that monster might be similar. You just might be changing like a few things. Because homebrewing is, not a all or nothing type of thing. It could be just tweaking a couple things here and there. So yeah, I mean, like one of the examples that I just recently had to deal with was I liked uh, the Medusa creature in the monster manual, but it's really wimpy as written, and I kind of wanted to be able to stand on its own. So I tweaked some things, added some legendary actions and things like that to kind of give it a higher power profile to be able to handle your group, which was at the time like 10th or 11th level. You know, um, and so I guess that kind of begs the question of when when is it okay to kind of just copy and paste, and the answer is whenever you want. It's your own thing, right?
Yeah, and I think that kind of goes into also if you have, let's say, a monster that doesn't really have any abilities, but you want to bump it up, you might want to ask yourself, well, what kind of monster features or character features um, that you want to give to those monsters, and I think it obviously always has to make sense, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
like for example, pack tactics. You wouldn't give that, obviously you wouldn't give that to a solo monster necessarily, but you know you would want to give it to something that makes sense to be fighting in packs. So like if you're homebrewing some kind of soldier that uses some kind of pack tactics, like a Roman phalanx kind of monster, right? Or
Yeah,
something like that. And then you
yeah,
have things like the orc's aggression, which could be, you could add that to something that doesn't have that but is in a similar vein. Martial adept. Let's say you're making, like, I don't know, some kind of Ronin samurai monster or something. It might make sense for that.
yeah.
Um,
You just the main thing is you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Like, use what's already there and add it to, like, do different combinations of those things to kind of make what you want it to be able to do.
right.
You know, and like think about where the creature's supposed to be in space. If it's an underdark creature, give it some things that would help it like sneak around or blend in with the background, or take advantage of darkened areas because it's lived there its entire existence, right?
Right.
Those would be logical things to add in.
Right.
um and then, like, going beyond that, like, once you have that monster, like, let's say it's meant to be more of like a minion monster or something that they come into contact with occasionally, you might feel that is even getting stale. So consider making some variations of that monster, like a heavy version, a mage version, a skirmisher version. I recently created a creature type in my game based off beholders. It was a Beholderkin. Like, what if a beholder imagined itself having an army? what would they look like, what would they be able to do. But I also wanted to have variations on that because just one type would be kind of boring after a while, you know.
Yeah, those things were quite scary. It's like,
yeah,
boy, what have we gotten ourselves into?
yeah. If you guys are interested in looking in that, I'll put a link. We'll put links down in the description to what I built. It's very early days with that. I was just kind of needed something quick to put in the game, and you can kind of take it or leave it, change it however you want, whatever. But yeah, I think it was really interesting to kind of think about different ways to use those similar features to give advantage to something that uses its fists more, or something that uses its arcane abilities more, and that was fun.
And that actually poses an interesting solution as well, because one thing I've noticed is we've played a lot is we've come across the same monsters over and over again. Us as players, we kind of know what to expect, whereas when you throw those things at us, we're like, what the heck are these? We've never seen these before. What are they resistant to? Not only were our characters new to this encounter, but us as players were new to this encounter, and it really helped, because I know people try to avoid it, but you're eventually going to metagame, and having a homebrew monster that no one in your party knows about is going to prevent them from metagaming. Again, not intentionally metagaming, but
yeah, of course,
right.
Yeah, like you can. I think what's interesting is like you look in like some published materials for 5th edition, like the modules and stuff like that will do variations on similar monsters from the monster manual and things like that, such that when your players are all gung-ho and ready and they know exactly what that monster is and how to defeat it, and as soon as they do that it doesn't work, they're like, wait, whoa, hold up, what's different here? And that, I think, is an interesting level of it, because they get to learn something new about this monster type that you've created.
Mm-hmm.
And that's always fun. So, and as well as it's very easy to just change one little thing in a monster stat block, and that makes it a whole different feel to the monster, whatever it's adding or removing something. Either way it works. So,
right.
And then I think once you have your monster or set of monsters, whatever it is, the question always ends as like, how do I, if at all, test this monster that I just created? I don't know. Is it going to kill my players outright? Is it too weak? Is it going to be like them running over them with a bulldozer? Like what? How do I test these things? And unfortunately for me, I very rarely test my homebrew monsters until the day of, and so it's kind of a surprise for me of like, is this going to be easy? Am I going to kill them all? I don't know. But you can do like some mock battles with like characters that you have, like sample characters that are of a similar level to your players, to try that out. And then if it's too weak, you can bump up things like health and different stats and things like that, or if it's too strong, lower it down.
I would say,
what do you guys do? You know what I mean?
I actually have 4 character sheets that I keep, of the most generic of the generic class structure you can have. So 1 cleric, 1 rogue, 1 fighter, and 1 wizard, with the most generic subclasses. And I have multiple copies of these character sheets at different levels that I'll run through. And
so I'd say for like
they hold up.
Yeah, so I'd say for like a generic. So if it's a monster you want to make for any setting, really, I think that would be a good approach. I also think if it's for a very specific setting, or maybe if you're creating this monster to deal with your party, like maybe certain type of monsters your party is very adept at dealing with. Maybe you want to create a monster that will make your party, the party you're DMing, struggle a little bit. Maybe even basically mirroring your player characters and seeing how that deals with it as well. That's more for if you're constructing a monster that's specifically tailored for your parties.
Yeah, like I had an NPC that was specifically designed to combat Fox's character has very high passive perception. I was like, I'm never going to sneak up on him, right? And finally, I was able, so I built this character to do that, and I think it worked well, but it didn't last long in battle. So.
No.
But so if you guys want to leave down in the comments like things that you've done or different monsters that you've done, let us know. We'd love to hear from you and get some feedback on this video. And if you want to look at some of the monsters we've created, we'll put some links down in the description to kind of direct you to wherever we have those stored. I think that's probably going to be it for this video. So, join us next time when we slide into Dem DMs. All right, guys. Have a good one.
Bye.
Peace.
Thank you for watching the Dem DMs podcast. We release a new video every Thursday. Feel free to continue the conversation in the comments down below. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm. Also, be sure to smite that like button, subscribe, and sneak attack the notification bell to ensure that you're up to date on all our new content.